Hello, everyone. I understand that this first class meeting was quite trying for a lot of you. Some of you, everything went smoothly, but a lot of you had trouble installing things on your own device. So, I'm going to reiterate that this is for Windows. If you are running on Mac or Linux, then you'll have to do some Google searching to figure out how to do this because I don't know. I apologize for that. But to set up your tools, let's start with Python. So you see, if you look up at the top, I am on python.org/downloads. It's right here, this URL at the top of the screen. So we want to come down to where we see this big yellow box that says download Python 3.11.4. Give it a click, and it's going to open up your directories. Now, you can save this anywhere you like. You can save it to your desktop. You could save it to a particular folder. What I like to do is have an installers folder, and I just save it there. And then if you're using Google Chrome, it'll give you this pop-up window here. We want to click this, and you'll get this window. If we want to install now, we're going to do that. That's going to be what we click, but just for a second, we want to come down here to the very bottom of this screen, of this installer window that we see. And you see, use admin privileges when installing py.exe. That's automatically checked. We leave that alone. But here we have add python.exe to path. What path is an environment variable that tells Windows where to look when certain applications are being invoked by name. So we want to make sure that this box is checked. If you do not check this box, Python won't work. So, and when I say it won't work, I mean when you run your console, your command line applications, it's not going to show up. It's going to say that it's not recognized as an internal or external command, and you're just going to have to uninstall Python and reinstall it. So once you've made sure that both of these checkboxes are checked, click Install Now. You'll get this admin thing. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to install this? Yada, yada, yada. Just click Yes. And you give it a moment. And then you'll be greeted with this little screen. Setup was successful. Has some text, some links for you to follow for more information, but we don't need that. We don't want to worry about disable path length limit. We just want to click close. Okay, so once we have Python installed, we want to come down to our start button. We want to click this, or you can press your Windows key. Click. And now we want to type CMD. And CMD is short for command. That is going to bring up our command prompt. Run this, and you'll be greeted with a window that looks something like this. Your text may vary, your username might vary, but it's going to look something like this. It's going to end with a right arrow. Now, to verify that Python is installed correctly, we type python space dash dash version. So that's Python space dash dash version. Press enter, and you'll see it says Python 3.11.4, and that verifies that Python is installed correctly on your machine. Now, we're going to leave this command prompt open for a little bit, and we're going to create a working directory. But first, what we want to do is come back to our web browser. We can close this tab now. And now here we are at code.visualstudio.com. We're going to install VS Code onto our machines, and we're going to use this to edit our code. So I want to reiterate, if you are using the in-class workstations, you do not need to install anything. All of these tools are provided for you. They're already on these machines. Do not try to install them yourself on the in-class workstations. This is only if you are using your own personal device. You do still need to do the command prompt steps regardless. So, here it says download for Windows stable build. If you are not using Windows or you wish to use the Insider build, click this drop down arrow beside the download button, and you can choose your operating system and you can choose your version. So we have the Mac OS Universal. You can choose stable or insider. Windows x64 user installer, stable or insider. And then Linux has a Debian and RPM version. I don't know what RPM stands for. I just know Deb is Debian. But I'm operating on a Windows machine, so I will leave this alone. And I'm going to click download for Windows. Again, it'll take us here, and we want to click save. Again, you're going to have this prompt here. We just want to give it a click, and it'll take us to this screen here. Accept the license agreement. Click next. You see it has your username, app data, local programs, Microsoft VS Code. This is where it will be installed on your computer for your user. So, click next again. Visual Studio Code, create some other, some start menu stuff for you. Just leave that alone. And now we come to these 5 checkboxes. These are designed to help improve your workflow, and I like to check all of them. I highly recommend you check all of them. It'll make opening and accessing your code a lot easier. Click next. And here's a little review of everything that you went through. Install. And now we wait. And once it's done, you'll see this screen here. Launch Visual Studio Code is checked. And we want to do that. So we're going to, we just click finish and it opens up. If this is your first time running this program, you'll have some setup options displayed. I uninstalled the program so I could reinstall it, and I didn't remove any of my settings. So everything I set up is back here. So we're just going to close VS Code, and we're going to close our web browser, and we're going to come back to our File Explorer. Now, I'm going to set up a directory on the desktop, because I noticed a lot of you were preferring that. So let's create a folder on our desktop. So we have it selected here. One thing to note is if you are using Windows 11, the desktop is in your OneDrive, and therefore I don't recommend it. If you're using Windows 10, you can get to your desktop without having to worry about OneDrive, so that's fine. If you're using Windows 11, I would recommend creating a folder in your root directory. Just your Windows C, whatever it's called, your local disk. But for those of you who are using desktop, that is okay as well. I'm going to create it in Windows C. Actually, no. Just for y'all who are using it in desktop. I apologize for the back and forth. We right-click, we select New, and we click Folder. This menu, this smaller menu, only appears for Windows 11. If you're using Windows 10, we want to click, you'll we click Show More Options here. This is what you'll be seeing if you're on Windows 10. Either way, highlight New, Folder, and now we're just going to call this CS230. Now, we're going to step into it, and then we're going to step into it in our command prompt. So we want to do CD OneDrive, CD Desktop, CD CS230. And now that we're in here, we'll use the echo command to make a file. So we'll do echo, and if you just start typing now, it will echo back whatever text you gave it. If, however, you do a right arrow followed by another space, and then do hello.py, nothing happens. It just gives us a new line, and if we click back over to our File Explorer, okay, had to reload it. You may have to do the same. We have our hello.py. So we're going to open this in Visual Studio Code. You may have this option, you may not. You should, though. So we're going to do open. And if you see where it says echo is on, just erase this. And if we come down here to the bottom right, it's not here, but VS Code might ask you if you want to install some Microsoft tools for Python. I would go ahead and do that. It's a nice extension. It helps with error checking and all kinds of other nice things. So we're going to write 2 lines of code in this file. We're going to do message equals pair of quotation marks, hello world. On the next line, print message. Now we're going to save, which is Control S. Press Control S every time you think about it. Save your stuff. Make sure it is up to date. Otherwise, you run the risk of losing progress. So after you do anything with a file, press Control S. But we are done. This is all we want to run right now. So we're going to close VS Code again. And we're going to come back to our command prompt one last time. And we're going to do Python space hello.py. Or we can just tab. Press tab, use this instead of actually typing. So we do Python hello.py, and this should print hello world, and it does. And that is everything you need to do for your first assignment. Follow those steps, make sure you're not skipping or missing out on anything, and you'll have everything set up, and running Python code, doing your assignments going forward is going to be a lot simpler. So that's going to be it for this assignment. Like I said in class, we will go over Canvas in our next class meeting, but for now, you know which assignment you need to do. If you're unclear, ask me, but that'll do it for this short first lecture. So you guys take care, reach out if you have any issues, and I'll see you next time.